the IEC to deal with this kind of issue?
The law prescribes, thank you, Janine. The law prescribes that any party or person who has an objection that is material to the results must do so, lodge that objection to the Commission by not later than 2200 on the second day of the election. So simply put, a simple interpretation of that says that by 9 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, all the objections must have been lodged with the Commission. And then the Commission can deal with that before it can announce on the results of the election. So that is what it is.
There are obviously a number of checks and balances in place that have been put there by the IEC to make sure that this doesn't happen. Just talk us through some of them, Siyabonga. You know, we've got the scanner, you've got to tick your name off the voters roll. So there are a number of things in place to make sure that double voting doesn't happen.
Yeah. There is a scanner that where your ID gets scanned when you get to the voting station, and then there's a record that is kept in that scanner for us to refer to when there's a need. And there is a voter's roll in the voting station where your name gets scratched off after you have voted. But remember, this is national and provincial elections where people are allowed through Section 24A to vote anywhere, as long as they are registered as voters. But before you can be given a ballot where you are not on the voters' roll of that voting station, there is a form, VC4, that you must fill in to record your details, and then you'll be allowed a ballot. So that form takes the place, you would say, of a voter's roll where your name would have been picked, so would have been scratched. And it remains at the voting station for our records, Janine.
How happy are you generally with how your officials provincially have conducted the voting, the counting process to date?
The counting has finished, but of course we have 4 voting stations that are outstanding as of now. It is 1 in Buffalo City.
Siyabonga, can I just ask you to, just for our viewers, to the difference between counting finished and captured?
All right, okay. There is counting that takes place immediately after voting. When voting stations closed at 9 last night, immediately thereafter counting took place. And then what we're busy with now is capturing, which takes place at the IEC office, capturing sites, where you were referring to about to a 50% mark that we have passed already. But I'm saying that there are only 4 voting stations in the province that are still busy with counting.
Is it too early to say when you expect everything to be in for the Eastern Cape?
We normally give ourselves a target, just for our, just to motivate ourselves, saying that notwithstanding anything, any challenge, we would be finished by such and such a time. We usually put 12, which is now, and we are nowhere near being finished now. Then I think, but by the end of the day today, we should be finished with capturing.
Okay, we're going to forgive you for playing it safe.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for talking to us. Okay, so hopefully by the end of today, we should have most of the results in. Let's hope it's like that. I'm going to have a chat now to our resident analyst, Professor Janine Steenkort. So, Jolene, hello again.
Hi.
Let's just talk about the issue that's come to the fore about double voting. What sort of impact does this have on outcomes and the elections per se in general?
Look, I think at this point in time where we are at, if no formal complaint has actually been lodged, it's pure speculation and rumour. I think, given the sensitivities around these issues, if there is evidence, if you know of specific incidences where there have been double voting, then it is best to start reporting that to the IEC so that the appropriate steps can be taken. Rumours such as these tend to undermine the integrity of the elections. Yes, we know there is a loophole now. The IEC is aware of it. And I'm sure by the time the local government elections roll around, they would have sealed that loophole to make sure that there's no, how can one say, roundabout way to either double vote or cast more than one vote.
Does it say anything that it's the ATM that is going to lay their complaint nationally, and other parties perhaps haven't joined suit?
That is kind of what we have to wait and see, what will happen. But again, once the complaint is being laid, there has to be very specific evidence. Otherwise, it is really just pure speculation, which can work to harm actually the party who has laid the complaint.
So the new kid on the block making a big noise. Jolene, I know you've been looking at some of the numbers in the metros. Let's start with Nelson Mandela Bay. What have you looked at so far?
Yeah, I thought it might be interesting just to see what is going on in the two bigger metros, considering, this is NUMSA country. We have a strong car manufacturing industry here as well. So just kind of looking at Nelson Mandela Bay in particular, when we know the ANC had a sharp decline. 2014 it was at around 49%. By 2016 it lost the metro. It could not get an outright majority and dipped to 40%. And at the point of around 42% or 43% of the vote counted in Nelson Mandela Bay, the ANC was sitting at 46.54% and the DA at 38.77%, compared to their 40.16% in 2014. And of course in 2016 they reached the mark of approximately 47%. What is interesting though is that the new kid on the block, the ATM, seems to have taken or made inroads in a few wards in Nelson Mandela Bay, and it would be interesting to see from who those wards were taken, so to speak. But we can only do that once the final results are out. Buffalo City, of course, quite a volatile area, loads of problems. Some of the voting stations didn't open. And what we see with the only at 15.91% counted at that particular mark, the ANC is sitting comfortably.
Jolene, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We need to catch up with the President. That was Professor Jolene Steenkortje, just updating you on what's happening here in the Eastern Cape as far as results go. From here, it's back to you in Pretoria.